My name's Gabriel. I go by Gabe Sheets. I am a game designer. I've been doing this for about 20 years now and started back in 2006. I grew up playing games, loved them. Eventually, I went to school and for something completely different. But in college, I got into modding levels for Duke Nukem 3D and just as a hobby. And I really loved it. But then eventually I stopped and finished my studies. And at the time, I was studying Asian studies and Chinese.
Okay.
Completely different, unrelated thing. So after college, I went off to Taiwan and China. I lived there for several years, pursuing a career there. Eventually, I came back and kind of reassessed what I wanted to do with my life. And I remembered those times back when I was working on Duke 3D levels and like how much fun it was. So I decided, well, maybe I could do that for a career. Because at the time, I thought, there's no way I could do this for an actual career, right?
Yeah.
So then I went to, at the time I was in Texas, and so I went to the Guild Hall at Southern Methodist University, and they trained me up. I learned a bunch of stuff, and it was an 18-month program. I graduated and had 2 offers, and one of them was out here in San Diego, where I still am. So I came out here to work for High Moon Studios, and started as an associate designer, mainly kind of a generalist doing scripting and level design. First game I worked on was the Bourne Conspiracy, Robert Ludlum's The Bourne Conspiracy, kind of a third-person action shooter brawler type deal. And then we went on to do 2 Transformers games. Those are really fun, the Transformers games, because I grew up playing, I had like Transformers toys. So that was really fun. And then we got bought by Activision and we switched over to making Call of Duty. And it was just like year after year working on different Call of Duty projects until we partnered with Bungie. And it was a few years of doing Bungie projects. So I worked on Destiny 1, The Taken King, Destiny 2, The Forsaken DLC. And then, of course, Bungie and Activision famously broke up. And it was back to Call of Duty for me. So did that for a few more years until I went to ZeniMax Online to help them build like this new IP, and it was exciting creatively. I wanted something more at the time, so I was at ZeniMax for about 4 years working on that until that got canceled. And so now and that happened just July last year. So now I'm building my own studio, making my own game, and trying to make it go with that.
Yeah. So you've kind of been sort of all over the spectrum, really, as far as gaming and stuff is concerned. Not necessarily what was it like working on those games, because obviously a lot of people know those games. Those are huge games, obviously. But like, what was learned? Like, what's things, skills, and stuff that you have to cultivate and learn before you could, were able to even get to this spot? Because starting your own studio or wanting to, go out on your own path, the indie route, I guess, from what I understand, not the easiest thing to first get into, but secondly, whether you don't have the resources or the skills or whatever the case may be, the community to be able to lean on other people. So like, what was sort of the things that you learned, sort of saw, like how was the industry? I mean, you say you've been in the industry, almost 20 plus. So what was it like coming up in the industry? Probably a lot different now.
It is, I think, yeah, a lot different. Back then, like I said, I went to a game school and I got hired fresh out of school. I mean, I was lucky enough to go to GDC that my graduating year, and I was like passing out my cards and resumes and stuff, and people were hiring, and I had a little reel that I'd worked on at school, and I feel like that route is a little more difficult these days, for sure. And I think it depends, like the way you get in is different for everyone, right? For me as a designer, I've always kind of just been heads down, like let the work speak for itself kind of person. So like in my reel, I had this level I'd worked on at school that was, it was like for a game we did that was like based on Greek mythology, and my level was set on the back of a kraken, like a moving kraken. It was just like moving through the water. And you could like go down to a platform next to one of its eyeballs, and if you shot the eyeball, then this big tentacle would come out and like slap the platform. And I just like doing really goofy, weird, fun stuff like that. And I think that's what stood out. Like literally when they hired me, it was like, yeah, that's the guy who made the Kraken level. Let's bring him on. Other people might get in different ways, but I was always real quiet and just kind of just the work and focused. And like I said, let the work speak for itself. As I entered the industry, I mean, in terms of learnings, gosh, there's so many, right? I think school really prepared us well in terms of the tools and in terms of like you do little game projects where you work with other people. And that's probably the main piece about games that's really difficult. It's working with other people, especially as a designer. It's all about communication. That's a skill I mean, it's a skill you're going to work on. I think everyone works on for the whole
Right.
life.
Yeah.
But being able to communicate your idea in a way that is going to bring people along is like the main sort of design skill set I think you need. And you can often support that with like make a little prototype and show people. But if you can elaborate and articulate why this is good and the pros and cons, and that's something I've had to really work on, and it's a really good skill that you need to like I said, bring people along. Because ultimately, like right now in my position, it's a leadership role where you need to bring people along with you, and they follow you for a reason. But the whole indie skill set, like developing a studio, that's like a whole other thing. I didn't learn anything about that in AAA game development. In AAA game development, you learn how to be kind of a piece of a large machine.
Yeah.
And you have your little creative box, or maybe you have your little team, and you get your sort of order, and you have that, like I said, that box to work within, but you're still just part of a giant machine. So it's pretty different.
Yeah. I've interviewed a few other people that have worked on some Call of Duty games, and I was always told that how like hyper focused it is. So like when you come in on a game of that magnitude, like if you are the costume person for the characters, uniforms that they wear or whatever, like that's sort of what you do. Like that's your thing, and
Yeah,
that's kind of all you do. Whereas like indies, they're kind of forced to wear all of these hats, and you get to touch a bunch of different things, So
exactly.
I guess was that a part of your, decision to want to do that? Because I'm sure, like you say, you kind of like to do a sort of, different things. Whereas like Call of Duty, what
Yeah.
you kind of getting. And I mean, as far as the designs, the way the character's going to move, a lot of the pattern recognition, all that stuff. Was that part of your reasoning for wanting to go out on your own and create a project like this, or
Uh,
was it just the industry leaning to that, kind of the how it is
yeah.
sort of now, people getting laid off, people breaking off anyway and making their own small little projects? Like what was sort of your thought process of all of that?
I think more of the latter. It was more kind of happenstance. I never wanted to I didn't come into this like wanting to make my own studio and make my own game. I was happy just like working on cool stuff. I love making games, love making the interactive media, and it's just like so. But then when I got laid off last year, the industry was in a completely different state than I'd ever seen it. Right, as we all know now, it's a mess. And so initially this all started as just kind of a life raft for people, because we were a team of 300 plus, and we pretty much all got laid off, and we were all looking at this void of like sending out resumes and nothing's coming back. So we just got together and started working on a game, and I thought, I pulled a bunch of people together. Let's get some regularity back in our lives, and at least while we're looking for jobs, we can do what we do best and do it on the side, and maybe build up portfolio pieces and keep our skills sharp. And so it's really just that. But in that process, I figured if we're going to work on the game, might as well be something that could work in this market. So I did a bunch of market research and pitched a few different games. One of them stuck. We just started working on it. Eventually, we got to the point where I felt like this is really cool. I think we could really do this. And nothing else is happening in the job market. Like we can't get jobs. At least many people did, but I was still struggling. So I thought as a secondary thing, well, I mean, I'll just start up a studio and maybe that'll be a backup thing. If it's a long shot, right? But if it can work out, maybe that's a way forward. And so yeah, it was more that. It was more me just kind of like rolling with what happened, as opposed to like an ambition that I had built up over years.
Talk about the game a little bit and sort of what's going on with it.
Sure. Well, like I said, when I was thinking about the games that I'd like to work on, I just realized, for years I've been working on games that take themselves really seriously, like hyper-realistic military shooter like Call of Duty, or some game with a deep story that's just like it's so serious. And I just want to do something fun, silly, kind of quirky. So I'll say we have our big reveal coming up soon. In fact, this week we're going to talk about the game and show people what we've been working on.
Cool.
So we've been teasing things as we go. I think on the website we say it's a third-person puppet shooter. So, and it's silly. Obviously, yeah, there's rubber chickens and puppets, and it's a shooter because that's what I know best. That's what I've built and made and worked on my whole career. So I know that's something we can execute on. And there's a layer of just like silly fun on top of that we're hoping to bring to it.
And you said that game will be coming out on will it be coming out on Steam or will it be coming out on, platforms? Like where do you guys see it going?
Yeah, it'll be on PC at least. So we're currently unfunded. We're
Okay.
building the game entirely with a group of just volunteers working part-time. So the plan is to come out with a Steam page and like a coming soon Steam page, and we're not going to announce the date yet because we're way far away. We have
Okay.
an early prototype, and it's going to be on PC at least. And if we can get like funding or publisher support, I would love to bring it to consoles.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be dope. What is the, I guess as you're designing this, are you still sort of looking at this now as a sort of side project, or has it like sort of turned more into like a main project, something you're just working on until, maybe the job market opens back up? Like, what is
Right.
sort of your feeling as far as like what you want to do with the industry, given that you've kind of gotten to do, a nice amount and worked on some big games, so well, from what I understand, most people's problem within the industry is they can't even get on a shipped game or don't have a lot of the, I guess, broad skills to be able to sort of just say, I'm gonna start my own studio and do A, B, and C.
Right.
So like, where do you see yourself as far as just games in general? Like, are you just looking to get back into AAA? Like, what's sort of your feel on that?
Good question. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm all in on this. First of all, the only issue is, like I said, we're unfunded, and I'm not a wealthy person, so I can't do this forever. So if we
Right.
don't get picked up or get some kind of investment, support somehow, it's not something we can take to the finish line, and then I'll have to reconsider. But I think based on where I'm at now and what we've done to get to this point, like working together on this prototype, like I feel really comfortable in this role, and I feel like I have a lot to bring doing this. And thought of going back to AAA and just, like I said, being a little piece in the machine is not horrible. I mean, it's a good paycheck and it's still doing what you love, right? But if this thing can work out, I mean, holy heck, man, that would be amazing. Be able to function in this industry and bring something new to it. That's just really exciting. It's just really risky, and frankly, it's a completely crazy time to do something like this.
Yeah, which
But
I find it very interesting that like even someone like with your catalog to say that they've worked on, some major games still can't find a job. Like that tells you just how crazy the industry is and how crazy people went during COVID, because that's kind of where all of this started, to where everybody sort of went feet first into the battle royale sort of
yeah,
bucket, and we're seeing the effects of that obviously now.
yeah.
What do you see as far as like even if you do go to a AAA or stay indie or whatever the case may be, like what is your feel on the industry as a whole? Like it is, I mean, it's always kind of been crazy like this. There are always going to be cycles of people getting laid off and rehired and stuff like that, but like as far as like overall, like what is your feeling on the industry? I'm imagining when you did 20 years back, when you did start to get on the Call of Duties and the Destinies and stuff like that, I mean, just as a player, them was some good times. Now, I mean, you can nitpick games and do all these different things, but I mean, everybody thought the good times was gonna roll forever, it seems like.
Yeah.
So what do you see overall on the industry?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously things are, I see it as they're restructuring. The industry's kind of restructuring. It's not collapsing. It's just, it got too big for various reasons, and like tons of money was pouring in. And then now we're seeing the results, and it's not, in various ways, it wasn't paying off the way people thought it would. So there's some retrenchment there and restructuring. And unfortunately, the way the business works, people feel like the best way to save money is just cut people. Right. And then you also have other factors like AI coming in, where you have big companies putting a lot of money in AI investment. So they cut their labor forces to compensate. I mean, I'm still just like learning about the business side of this stuff, but that's what I see. It's a bunch of restructuring and kind of settling, and we're still in the middle of it. And we will get to a place where it's not just such a disaster. But I feel like what I see and what other people have talked about is, smaller teams and more agile teams and smaller focused games are going to do much better in the near term, I think, because you see that old model of like, oh, someone's got a great idea, let's give them 50 million or 100 million and let them like go, build a studio and take 5-6 years to like make the game and then come out with it, and all of a sudden just expect everyone to buy it. That's gone. Like the market is changing, people's tastes are changing, they want new stuff. So the model that we're trying to follow is like small team, really agile, focused product. Bring the idea out as soon as you can, even when it's early. Like when we announce, it's going to be really early stuff. You're going to see things aren't fully textured yet. Like it's early placeholder stuff, but we want to show the idea and get some validation and see if people want it. And of course, if they don't, well, we'll deal with that. We'll change it, try something else. I don't know. But I think that's what you're going to see is like this more community engagement, small teams, small games. And I think, AAA is going to have to adapt to do that more, to listen to the public and give them what they want and inject some of that indie spirit into AAA is what you really need, right? Like some innovation. Don't just give us the same old formulas with like big, nice graphics. Like we love that, but we actually really love just fun stuff too.
Yeah. Obviously, like you said, you got this game. I'm interested as to like the workflow or the process, simply because like, how do you, as someone who is a creative, I have 1,000,001 ideas that I could, try to put forth and try to make something out of and things like that. I'm not sure that's how just the game industry works. Like usually if you have a project, from what I understand, you're kind of focused on that. You have other ideas you could work on, but there's only so many resources you have, obviously. How do you go about balancing all the ideas and the things that you would like to do? I'm sure that you have a lot of other ideas that you would like to see the light of day, or some other IPs that you would possibly like for people to see. I guess workflow, structuring, what to focus on, things like that, given that you have sort of had to do that in a AAA space. And I'm sure that probably has its own sort of workflow and structure as well.
Yeah. It's tough, right? Because it is a creative industry and everyone's got ideas. And I mean, that's oftentimes one of the problems I think games have is they let scope creep happen because too many ideas are coming in. And there's lots of reasons why that happens. I've always approached it as like you need to have your creative box and it needs to be defined by someone. So like as a director on a game, I feel like you really need to establish the design pillars. And then give each sort of area their little creative box that says, these are the goals. This is the experiential fantasy we're going for this part of the game. So you have your goals and your fantasies, and everything that team works on needs to align with those goals. So then now you have a metric to measure all those other ideas around. Like if someone has some crazy idea, it's like, does it align with the goal? And if the answer is no, then we cut it, or we don't even try it. And so that's just a process of like, you need to identify what core experience you want to deliver to players, what's the fantasy, and then establish those different boxes that are going to like all flow into that. And it's just about discipline. And then the other thing that really works is rapid iteration. Like iterate, prototype, try things out. If someone has an interesting idea and you're not sure about it, build it really quickly, prototype it, get it in the game, play it, see if it fits, because you don't want to completely shut out all the ideas, but you also need to be smart and like test something out as quickly as you can. Really prototype assets. Yeah.
And that was going to be a kind of answer to part of what I was going to ask next, which is you do have a lot of experience, like I said, and people will find it I don't know if anybody will ever find it easy to get into the game industry. I mean, it's getting easier. I guess you can go to school and start to learn these different things. But what advice would you give someone like, given that you've kind of experienced what happens in the industry, different games, scope, all of that stuff, for someone who's trying to get in the industry now, or trying to, possibly do the same thing you're doing, game design or something to that effect? Like, what advice would you give them?
Good question. That's tough. Yeah, well, it depends on, first off, like what you're trying to do, and like if it's design or audio or this or that animation. So obviously developing a really focused skill, I think is key. Like one issue I see with a lot of people trying to get into the industry is that they have a very broad, or they present themselves with a broad skill set. Like they can do design, they can do programming, they can do some art, they can do audio and music, and it's nothing wrong with that. But I know from experience that at least the AAA industry looks for specialists, like we were talking earlier, hyper specialized. Like what you're basically in a assembly line and you're making one widget over and over again. It's like you got to be the best at making that widget. Now, of course, the indie space, like you say, is different, and you wear lots of hats. But still, I still think even in the indie space, you need people who are primarily like one discipline over another, and to have like some other things that you can do.
Yeah.
So develop that one skill set. And the best way to to do it and demonstrate it obviously is through games that you work on with people somehow. So if that means you're volunteering to make games, I think that helps if you can show what you've done. We're really trying at Eighth Lantern to support new people as well. And so I think there's especially with all the skill just like leaving the industry right now, I think it's our responsibility to bring up new folks too. So there's a bit of an onus on, I think, on the existing industry to like help support more of that, because there's no silver bullet, right? I mean, there's no like, yeah, if I do this one thing, I'm going to get in.
Right.
But yeah, so I think we need to help more.
So people are able to find the things that you're doing. The game you said is going to get sort of a reveal coming up here pretty soon. So just kind of plug yourself, plug, the game and all that stuff and where people can find it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not practiced at this yet. I'm so new. But we're Eighth Lantern Studios. You can find us at www.eightlantern.com. And we're on all the socials. If you look up Eighth Lantern, we're on X and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and Blue Sky and all that stuff. If you go to our website, we have a link tree and you can follow that. And we will very soon have our Steam page up. It'll be a coming soon page, and you'll be able to wishlist there if you like. And we're going to have a newsletter. We got all that coming up within very soon, next week or two. So
yeah.
And
you guys already have some snippets and cuts on the YouTube that I saw as well. That's where I saw the first. I saw the chicken.
Yeah. If you look at our socials, we got a bunch of little teasers, and then that's all leading up to our announcement, which will be coming soon.